Welcome to APA Citation Style, what all students need to know. I'm Jill Boren.
And I'm Molly Wolf.
And today we'll be going over the APA Publication Manual's 7th edition. We're going to be going over forms in 3 different categories. Basic forms include print book and print journal article. Intermediate forms include ebook, electronic journal article, and websites, and YouTube videos. And advanced forms include social media platforms. The first form is for a print book. You start with the author's name followed by the initials inversely. So it's author, last name, comma, first initial, middle initial if you have it, followed by the year of publication in parentheses, just the year. And then APA has funky capitalization rules. For the title of a book, you have the first letter of the first word capitalized, the first letter after any punctuation capitalized, and any proper nouns. Then followed by a period, and then a publisher, and all print forms end with a period. So if we see it filled out here, Gelman, comma, I, period, F, period, the year is 2015, the president and the apprentice, Eisenhower and Nixon, you see how Eisenhower and Nixon are both capitalized because they're proper nouns, followed by the publisher, which is Yale University Press, ending with a period. Print journal article is based on a lot of the foundations that were established in the print book. You have an author with a last name, comma, first name, first initial, middle initial if you have it. And you see this example has 3 authors. The second to last and the last include an ampersand between them. Then you have the year of publication, the title of the article with the funky capitalization. Now you have the title of the journal with title case capitalization. So every main word is capitalized. Followed by with a comma, followed by the volume number, issue number, right up against it in parentheses, pages, and a period. If you see how the example is filled out, the other thing that you need to specify is the name of the journal is italicized, as is the name of the volume number. The issue number is not, and APA requires you to include the issue number whenever you have it. Always end a print journal article with a period. So here's a print forms review. There are 3 mistakes in this. Can you find them? So as you see, the first mistake is in the title. Ancient tattoos, only the A in ancient should be capitalized. The second mistake is in the author's name. Powell is all caps, only the P in Powell should be capitalized, and it's missing a period.
Now that we've completed the basic forms, which are the print forms, we want to move on to some of the electronic forms. We've categorized them as intermediate, and we begin with the citation for an electronic book. So you'll notice that the author's name is formatted exactly the same way that we saw it for a print book and a print journal article, with the last name, comma, first initial, middle initial if you have it. Then we have the date here, and that's in parentheses, followed by a period. We have the title of the book. Now this is exactly formatted the same way that it was with the print book, so it's italicized. And it also gets that funky capitalization. So the first letter of the first word, the first letter of the first word following punctuation and any proper nouns. And then, because it is electronic content here, we either include a DOI if we are given one, or if we are not given a DOI, we don't include any additional information. With an electronic book, you do not need to include any kind of publisher information. So on this slide, we'll see it filled in with actual information. In the first slide, the first example here, we have a DOI. So we have the author's last name followed by first initial, middle initial, the year of publication, which is 2018, remembering the present, mindfulness in Buddhist Asia. The R in remembering is capitalized because it's the first letter of the first word. The M in mindfulness is capitalized because it's the first letter of the first word following punctuation. And then Buddhist and Asia are capitalized because they are proper nouns. The whole thing is italicized. It ends with a period. And then we have the DOI for the ebook. You will notice that after the DOI, there is no period. We'll see that again when we come to the electronic journals and websites. When you have a URL at the end of your citation, you do not put a period at the end of it. The second example on this slide from Passmore and Amit does not have the DOI. So you'll notice that we have our author's names, our date, then the title of our ebook, and then we do not include any additional information. So now we move on to the electronic journal article, and this is really where the majority of your sources are going to fall. You'll probably be using journal information more than anything else. The authors are cited exactly the same way as you would with a print book or electronic book or a print journal article. Last name, first initial, middle initial. And as Jill mentioned in the basic forms section, regardless of how many authors you have, there is always an ampersand between the second to last author and the last author. And we see that here between author BB and author CC. Then you have the year, which is in parentheses and a period, the title of the article, the title of the periodical, comma, volume number, issue number, page numbers, period, and then the DOI for the journal article. Now, everything up to the page numbers is exactly the same as it was with the print journal article. And then they slap a DOI formatted in this way at the end of the citation. And because it ends with the DOI formatted in like a URL, there is no period at the very end. So let's see an electronic journal article with a DOI filled in with actual information. So we have our author's names, we have our date, playing with technology, mother, toddler, interaction scores lower during play with electronic toys. That's the title of my article. And you'll notice that the P in playing is capitalized and the M in mother, toddler is capitalized. The first letter of the first word, the first letter of the first word following punctuation. And there are no proper nouns. We end that with a period. Then we have the title of our periodical or the title of our journal. Journal of Applied Developmental Psychology. That is all capitalized in title case and italicized. The volume number comes next. That is also italicized. And it is smack up against the parentheses for the volume number, which is not italicized. Comma, our inclusive page numbers. And then we put our DOI at the end. And there is no ending punctuation. The question is, where do you find a DOI? So DOIs are often included on the database record, as we see in the example on the left, or somewhere on the first page of the PDF, as we see on the example on the right. Now, if you look at both of these examples, the DOIs are formatted differently than we need to format them in the citation. So what we do is we take the information given on the database record or on the front page of the PDF, and we add https://doi.org, and then we cut and paste in the long string of letters and numbers that were given in the DOI field. Now, what happens if you have an article, a journal article that you retrieved electronically that does not have a DOI? That does happen from time to time, so you might run into it. Basically, you cite it the way you would cite a print journal article. Author's names, date, title of article, title of journal, volume, issue number, inclusive page numbers, and a period, and you don't have to do anything else. So let's take a look at how you would cite a website. It's going to look quite similar to the forms that we've looked at up to this point. Author's names, right? Last name, comma, first initial, middle initial. The date of publication of the website. Now, here is where we change up the date a little bit. For websites, YouTube videos and social media, you provide all of the date that you have going from least specific to most specific. So if you're given just the year, you include the year. If you're given the year and the month, you include the year and the month. If you're given the year, the date, and the month, you include all of that. And it will always be formatted year, comma, month, day, in parentheses, and then a period. Then the title of the website, and we treat titles of websites just like we do titles of books. So they are italicized, and the capitalization follows that funky APA capitalization rule: first letter of first word following punctuation, any proper nouns. And then here, we don't have a DOI, so we include the web address that is copied and pasted right out of the browser bar. So let's see it filled in with information, actual information. Now, sometimes you will notice that there is a individual or several individuals that are identified as the authors of a website. We call those personal authors, and we cite them just like we cited print journal articles, electronic journal articles, books, ebooks, last name, comma, first initial, middle initial. Everything else remains the same. You'll see here on the date that we had very specific date information: year, month, day, title of the website, and then we copied and pasted the URL in, and because it is a URL, we do not have punctuation at the end. Other times, you do not have an individual or a group of individuals responsible for the content of the page. What you have is known as a corporate author, meaning that there is an association or a group or a corporation that is responsible for the content of the page. In which case, instead of trying to find an individual, you just put in the name of the association, organization, or corporation. So in this example, this is a website from the American Library Association, and we just put in the name of the association, American Library Association, as the author's name. We don't invert it. We don't do association, comma, American Library. We don't abbreviate it. We write out American Library Association, or Widener University, or GlaxoSmithKline. Okay, we write out the name exactly as it appears. Then we have the date. In this case, we were only given a year, so we just include a year. We have the title of our website, About ALA. About is capitalized because it's the first letter of the first word. ALA was the name of the page. It's abbreviated, so we keep it abbreviated. And then we copy and paste our URL from our browser bar into the citation, and we do not end it with a period. YouTube video. Very, very similar to how you cite a website. You've got your authors' names. If you have a personal author, you do the personal author. If it is a corporate author, you use a corporate author. You have the date, and then once again, that's as much date information as you're given. You have the title of the video. We treat it just like the title of a website or the title of a book. It's italicized. But what we have to add in next to that is in brackets, video, and then period. We have to specify that it's coming from YouTube. So then what would come next would just be YouTube, period. And then the actual URL of the video, which is copied from your browser bar. So here it is filled in with actual information. This is a video from the University of Oxford. So we have University of Oxford in the title and the author spot, I'm sorry. We have very specific date information. So we have 2018, comma, December 6th. The title of the video is How Do Geckos Walk on Water? We have video in brackets. We have YouTube, and then we have the copied and pasted URL from the browser bar for this specific video. Now, let's do a little bit of a review here. This is a citation for an electronically retrieved journal article, and there are two mistakes here. Can you spot them? So as you can see, oh, there were three mistakes, sorry about that. So the first mistake is in the title of the article, Framing the Problem of Sex Trafficking. Currently, everything is capitalized, every major word is capitalized, and that's just not the case when we're talking about titles of articles. So the only thing that should be capitalized is the F in framing. The P in problem, the S in sex, and the T in trafficking should not be capitalized. The DOI is formatted as it appears on the database record, and it should be reformatted, right, with the HTTPS in front of it. And we didn't mention this, but as you can see from all of our previous examples, anytime you have a citation that runs for more than one line, the second, third, fourth, fifth, however many lines gets indented, either 5 spaces or 1 tab. So if you caught the indentation issue, good for you. Next, we have one more form to review, and this is a website from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There is one mistake here, and if you caught it, good job. The words retrieved from are not needed. After we have the title of the website, we just copy and paste in the browser. We do not need to say retrieved from.
Now that we have completed the basic and intermediate forms, we want to talk about the advanced forms, which in this case is social media. The APA 7th edition has laid out very explicit instructions on how to cite social media and what information needs to be included. This chart is taken right from the book, and it provides great guidance in what to do with social media information. So every social media citation is going to include an author, a date, a title, the social media site name, and a URL. For Twitter and Instagram, you provide the author's name, whether it's personal author or corporate author, and then in brackets, the username or handle with the @ sign. For Facebook and others, you provide whatever information you have: personal name, corporate author, group name with the username, or just the username. For the date, you have 2 options, either N period D period for no date, or the full date stamp with the year, the month, and the date. For the title, what constitutes a title is going to depend on what kind of post you're looking at. If it's text only, then the content of the post is going to be just the first 20 words. They are italicized. If it is a text and graphic post, then you're going to have the first 20 words of the post, which are italicized, and then in brackets, a description of the graphic, photograph, video, whatever it happens to be. If it is just a graphic or a video, then in brackets, you put just a description of it, and you do not italicize it. Next is going to come the social media site name, and then the URL. Now there's 2 options for URLs. One includes a retrieved date. You would only use this in cases where the information is going to be constantly changing. I think the example in the book was the population clock, which of course is always changing. So it's important to know when you accessed it, because anytime I go to look at it, it's going to be different. So let's look at a citation for a tweet. This is a tweet from Bill Gates. So Gates, comma, B, period, and then in brackets, we have his handle with the @ sign. Then we have the full date stamp. Twitter always gives you the month, the day, and the year, so you include all of that information. Then we have the first 20 words of the tweet. It is italicized. And then what you have to know about that is that if there are emojis or misspellings or weird capitalization or whatever, you need to include that exactly the way it appears in the social media in the citation. You don't make any corrections. You copy and paste it exactly the way it appeared in the original tweet or Facebook post or Instagram post. Then in brackets, we have tweet, because that's what it is. Then we have Twitter, which is our social media site name. Then we have the URL of the specific tweet. Okay, moving on, we're going to take a look at Facebook. So this one has a corporate author, so National Institute of Mental Health. We treat it just the way we've treated every other corporate author. Then in brackets, we have the full date. Facebook is very good about giving you the full date stamp, so you should be able to get the year, the month, and the day. Then we have the first 20 words of the Facebook post, which are italicized. This also included an infographic, so then in brackets we put infographic. And then Facebook, which is the social media site name, then the URL. You will notice that this URL has been shortened. The use of URL shorteners is permitted in the 7th edition of APA. So if you have a URL that's very, very long, feel free to shorten it. For Instagram, we have a corporate author here, so Kinsey Institute, and then in brackets, the handle @Kinsey Institute. We have our date stamp. We have the first 20 words of the tweet, and please excuse the 5th line, that should be indented. And then in brackets, photograph, because this was a text and photographic entry. And then Instagram, which is our social media site name. And then we have the URL. So let's take a look at an actual social media post. This is a Facebook post on the left, and here is a citation that we created for it on the right. There are a number of problems with this citation. So take a minute just to look it over and see if you can pick out a few of the mistakes that are here. Okay, so we have our corporate author, the chick and the dead. We have our date, everything's fine there. It's abundantly obvious that this is too long, right? We need the first 20 words, not the entire post. So what's highlighted in red there up to the this is what should be included in the title. It should also be italicized, okay? And then we would move on to status update. That actually shouldn't say status update. What it should say is some sort of description of the graphic that accompanied the text. Then we have Facebook, our social media site name, and then the URL is not just the URL of Facebook. That's not really specific enough. We need to provide the URL of the actual social media post.
APA citation style has 2 parts to it. The first you can think of as the references, which we talked about earlier. And now we have the in-text citations. These things work hand in hand. So in order to do in-text citations for a direct quote, with the page numbers, you include the author's last name, comma, followed by the year of publication, comma, P period, and the page numbers. If you have a direct quote, but you don't have page numbers, like it's from a web page, and you have paragraph numbers, you're supposed to count the paragraphs. So in this example, you have Wolf, comma, 2012, comma, para, P-A-R-A, period, 5. Indirect quotes do not require page numbers, so that's like paraphrasing. So you have the author's name, followed by a comma, and a year, and a period. Oftentimes you have more than one author. These are the rules that the APA 7th edition asserts. If you have one author, every single time you have that author's last name, comma, and the year of publication. If you have 2 authors, every single time you cite them, you include both authors with an ampersand in between. So Born and Wolf, 2014. And if you have 3 or more authors, just every time, including the first time, you just put the first author followed by et al. With a period and a comma and the year of publication.
Although the APA 7th edition print is the authoritative source for information on APA style, there are some places out there on the web, in addition to the resources that Jill and I have put together, that are useful and can prove to be good resources for you when you have questions. The first source that we recommend is always the APA style blog, and there's the URL for it. That is where they tackle questions about APA style that are maybe not answered in the book or that are ambiguous. They always update the blog regularly to have the most up-to-date information for emerging technologies or new social media, new information sources that maybe didn't exist or weren't as prominent when they published the book, even though it was just published in October. So the APA style blog has been invaluable for us, and we think that it would be useful for you as well. The next site that we recommend is the Purdue Online Writing Lab, also known as OWL. The URL is there, but if you Google Purdue OWL, it takes you right to it. That is a good source of information. They do a good job of breaking down the different citation styles, or different citation formats, the different sources of information. And they go into way more depth than we do. Remember, this is just the introduction to APA citation style. So things like an edited book, or if you're just quoting a book chapter, or if you're quoting a blog, or some other information source, that data set that you find on the web. The Purdue Online Writing Lab has examples for that, so that's really useful. And in addition, we also found, for those of you who were very familiar with the 6th edition of the APA style manual and maybe wondering what things have changed, you know, I've got the basics down, but what are the changes that came along in the 7th edition? This last site here, the most notable changes, is definitely going to be something that you want to check out. It's a very concise list. It shows you what the 6th edition was, what the 7th edition is asking for now, and we've found that to be incredibly useful. In addition, if you have any questions, problems about APA citation style 6th edition or 7th edition, Jill and I are always happy to help. You can give us a call, you can email us, you can stop by our offices. We're happy to look over reference lists for you, or if you are trying to use the manual and it's just not making a whole lot of sense, we are happy to answer any questions that you have. So do not hesitate to reach out, and thank you for joining us today. Good luck.